Hello, everyone. This is Anime Sickos, the podcast for geniuses, the only podcast for smart people. I am Joe, here to talk to you about the 4 pillars of human misery. We have anime, gaming, posting, and jobs. 4 things I know are bad for me, and I can't stop because I never developed better hobbies. I am joined by...
You're joined by Tom and Anime Sicko. I do those 4 things because of a witch's curse. We have the best show in the universe. It's really funny, and everyone loves it. And we're so famous. We're very rich because of this. But we didn't get famous just on our own awesomeness. Part of the reason that Anime Sicko is so famous that Joe Rogan actually became a monk and now lives in a monastery and never speaks is that we've had great guestos. People have gone guesto mode and just really been excellent. Just over the top. Great shit. And that's going to continue today because we have a guest in the virtual studio who is ready to go guesto mode. Guesto, who are you and what's your deal?
Hello, everyone. I'm Quinn, Welsh-Wilson, and I, like Atlas, am pinned under the world by the 4 pillars, except instead of straining under its weight trying to keep it afloat, my body's just been completely decimated.
You're just goop.
Yeah, I've been just completely gored through. There's little of me left. I run a podcast. I'm on a few podcasts. Yeah, I know. It's a huge fucking error on my end. I run the actual play podcast, Arms of the Tide, on the One Shot Podcast Network. And I also have an on-again, off-again side project where, for inexplicable reasons, criminally late, we watch and review the Riverdale television show, as well as its associated media called Riverdo's and Riverdon'ts.
Huh. So I haven't seen anything about Riverdale, and I only get bits and pieces from online. And hoo boy, it seems
a
treat.
It's bananas. And we're reading a book right now that is informed by Season 3, but takes place chronologically before Season 3.
This is some Kingdom Hearts shit.
And we're going to be timeline purists here. So we're not following release order. We're following when in the chronology of the show did this take place. And so they're talking about stuff that's clearly supposed to hit for people who have interacted with Season 3 material. And having no context, I'm losing my fucking mind. There are snippets of chapters dedicated to a D-list character going on long screeds about the Gargoyle King. And it's like, this is Archie, right? From the comics Archie?
Yeah. So how does Archie fuck? Like, how gritty is Archie in this?
Oh my, I mean, he's immediately fucking and it's immediately illegal.
Oh my God. So what?
Like, one of the first shots of the television show is him fucking his teacher.
Jesus Christ.
It's awful. It's horrible.
I'm going to bet in the comics that the teacher is like a fucking Far Side character with poofy white hair and like big glasses. And
she's like 89 years old.
So here's what I know about Riverdale. I watched 5 minutes of it on Netflix. So it was like, maybe this is going to be a fun trash TV thing for me. And then there were a bunch of teens that were clearly 25 years old and didn't look like human beings to me. And one of them claimed to their other friend that she did a summer vacation where Toni Morrison said that her poetry was really good, and I turned it off.
Holy shit. So here's the thing. There's an entire book that I just finished it. It's not the book that I'm reading right now with the Gargoyle King shit, which is way better. But this book is about the day before the first episode of the show, which is like, okay, so nothing can happen, right? And it is literally shifting perspectives of the 4 main characters, the author is spinning her wheels for the entire book.
This is so
But
cool.
They situate that, like, they make sure that you know that they're setting up Betty to be on track to introduce her poetry to Toni Morrison.
Jesus Christ.
What a bold move to do a book where the consequences have to be literally zero. Like, there can be no meaningful end result. Everyone has to get amnesia and wake up for the first episode.
I mean, dude, you're talking about all anime movies.
That's true. Well, every anime movie doesn't start before anything happens, at least. You're like, oh, at least I know Goku from before.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what this second book is also. Oh, we're filling in space between the seasons, but the status quo that ended season 2 is more or less identical to where they begin season 3. So this is also a long road to nowhere.
Hell yeah.
I would love to be paid to do that, to just spend a weekend cranking out a book where 80% of the content is a recap of all of the story arcs from the Wikipedia articles that you're reading about the show that you're writing a book about.
So hold up. Here's my take on this whole scenario. What you're describing, there's a professional writer out there whose day job it is to write fan fiction where the characters are just vibing.
Pretty much, yes. Pretty much.
I feel silly asking this question even, given, everything that's happened in the episode so far, but it's required.
How good is it? Is it written well?
No! It's written so completely incomprehensibly, and you can see all of the tricks she's using to extend the page count. Like, she is like when I was in 7th grade, and I thought like a 2-page limit on a paper was fucking criminal.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, all right, let's increase the font size a little bit. Like, let's juice the spacing. I'm going to use like an extra large font for the title here.
Yeah.
Because she literally does these exchanges at the tops of chapters that are text messages between people.
Oh, that's
so it's
so
like
much white space.
5-word line break, 5 words line break. And then there's a large break. And then in like 24-point font is the name of the character who's narrating. And then there's probably a recap of the stuff that you already read about in a previous chapter, or that you're supposed to know from the show for maybe 3 pages. And then there is like a single event that she describes over the last page and a half of a chapter. It's incredible, actually.
I was thinking that this was going to be a scenario like when Riley Hopkins tried to sell us, and succeeded, fucking, to be honest, on Power Rangers, where I'm like, this seems like baby shit. And he's like, actually, it's really good. This is the case where it seems like baby shit, and you're like, yeah, it's stinky.
Oh, yeah, no. It is absolute baby shit. Do not touch it.
So is there anything important you want to plug, how people can see your work, before I ask you the big question that you know is coming?
Oh, absolutely. You can find me on twitter.com at monkeypiequinn. That is MonkeyPieQuinn. You'll probably get about a 5% ratio of me talking about things that are relevant to your interest, whatever it is. And then the rest of it's probably just incomprehensible shitpost nonsense.
You described posting.
Yeah. I'm a poster, I guess. Probably a little p poster. I don't think I've ever really connected to the realm and let it flow through me.
I mean, on our part, it's aspirational, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I'm waiting for the day. Every time I hit send on a tweet, I'm like, is today the day? Am I going to be flooded?
Every once in a while, I do a good post, and some sweet, kind-hearted rube is like, "Hey, Tom, I think this is the one that's gonna do numbies," and I'm just like, "Oh no, it won't." And then an hour later, I'm at like 2 retweets and 20 likes, and I'm like, "I fucking knew it."
And I hate the converse situation or the inverse situation where I'll post something and I'm like, "All right, this probably rides that line between niche and relatable. It's just specific enough that, like, you kind of gotta laugh." And then 3 hours later, I have no interaction. And I'm like, well, fuck me. Next time, I guess.
Yep. Joe, ask the question.
Sure.
Yeah, ask the question.
So it's time. Quinn, are you an anime sicko?
It depends on when you're asking this question, which Quinn you're talking about, because there's the Quinn who, in 8th grade, had seen 2 anime shows, maybe. Like some Dragon Ball Z when I was younger, a couple episodes of Naruto, and some Full Metal Alchemist. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm a fucking anime sicko. Look at me. I'm going to go to the anime comics and hobby shop down in Mission Valley, one of the many malls we have here in the lovely city of San Diego, and I'm going to buy a Naruto headband.
Oh.
From the village hidden in the mist. An arc that I had seen nothing of. I'm just like, oh, that looks fucking cool. And then I wore it to school and was like viscerally roasted every fucking time I did it. But for some reason, I was like, no, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep doubling down.
It's your training
and wearing the
arc.
fucking Naruto headband to school. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm a sicko. I'm living the life. And then
this is you forever pushing a sicko boulder. This is like so impressive.
So then you touch base with Quinn at like 18, 19 years old, and I've recognized like, oh, I've seen 3 anime. I don't know anything. I appreciate the art form. Like I'll read manga sometimes. It's nice. But it's just like, it's there. If you ask Quinn today, Quinn who keeps for easy reference on their phone a picture of my TV with like the 3 frames from the filler episode of Dragon Ball Z where they show Yamcha's full ass. Yeah, I'm an anime sicko.
What was the context of the ass? Was he about to play baseball?
No, he was diving for trying to get a Dragon Ball.
Oh, that was.
And he had an encounter with some giant fish.
That's when he just forgot he could fly.
Right, yeah.
I just want to take a moment and just admire the audacity of your answer where you ask, when am I asking it? Obviously now. If I were to ask you, hey, Quinn, are you hungry? Would you be like, well, many times in the past I have known that great craving.
Well, see, and I figured that you might say something like that, in which case I figured, hey, you're trying to break the ice. You're trying to let these people know who I am. And I'm like, I got to paint a picture.
There's an arc there.
Right.
Yeah, oh, it's true. Damn. It's just like you had your training arc where you brought your Naruto headband to school, and then you sort of hit the low point, and now
I stepped away.
Yeah. You've come back, and you've unlocked a sword out of a big rock, and it was actually an old guy who made you dance.
Oh, yeah. It's I'm incredibly powerful these days. Like, I know enough about anime, and like I watch anime enough now that I'm like, okay, yeah. And also, I now know that anime is like fucking awful. Mm-hmm. I know that anime is so bad.
It's a shameful thing. It's we keep at it, but there's always a twinge of guilt.
Yeah. Every time I start a new show, I'm like, all right, is this the one? Is this the one that just convinces me to walk away forever?
No. It'll never happen.
In a weird way, though, you build up your resistance every time you're like, is this the one that's going to make me walk away? Because every time you ask yourself that question, you have consumed more, so you're less likely to walk away. It's a trick question.
Yes.
Oh, no. The poison is going to cause me to fall down dead on my doorstep one day because I'm accruing so much of it and I'm not purging it. But there's also this benefit to living with my fiance. Like, okay, well, I just like live with my partner. They like anime too. They get what anime is. And so, they walk in and it's a horrendous, just horny titty scene. And they're like, oh, this shit again? I'm like, yeah, this shit again.
Yeah, I'm not there yet with my girlfriend, so I watch everything on a tablet.
Yeah, Joe, you are lucky because the scenario Quinn is describing is essentially 2 people tying each other off so that they can shoot up with maximum efficiency.
It really is. It really is.
Quinn, you said a magical phrase to me, an incredible incantation of words of power that causes great reaction in my brain. All the brain juice that I love shoots out in a big goosh, and I feel real good when someone says it. Which is to say, you told me that you are getting into One Piece.
I am on the cruise.
You're on the... Well, I was going to say you're on the Thousand Sunny, but I imagine at this point you're still on the Going Merry.
I'm on the Going Merry. I'm watching it alongside my fiance. I just finished up Skypiea, so I'm in the Long Ring Longland arc.
Ooh,
here.
That's a tough one. You're gonna have to eat your vegetables a little bit before you get to the dessert again.
I'm appreciating at least the Chopper content that's in there. Yeah,
Chopper,
if you just put Chopper on the screen and he does fucking anything, I go apeshit. I turn into a fucking baby and I start clapping and screaming and crying.
So okay, you I don't even need to ask. You grasp completely the appeal of One Piece. That is it. That's the point. The point is to see your friends and ook at them.
Oh yeah.
So how did this begin? What? Because starting to get into One Piece is like an insane decision. It's like seeing Mount Everest and being like, I'm gonna eat that. So
yeah, pretty much.
What was the impetus?
So my fiance has loved One Piece since before we were together. And they've been, like, encouraging me to get into it occasionally. And I basically said, I'm like, you're pointing to Mount Everest. And, like, I can't do that. And that was when it was, like, 700 chapters long instead of, like, almost 1,000. And a couple of years ago, I watched, like, the first couple episodes. I watched through, like, Usopp's introduction. And I'm like, okay, this is fine. Like, I know I should be reading it. But at that time, it was in this weird dark age between when I knew where to get all of the manga illegally, and then I stopped knowing where all that happened, and then the Shonen Jump app happened, like, several years later, which means that I don't have to, like, try to figure out where to read it, basically.
Yeah, it really puts it all in one big place for you to endlessly consume, like, and never have to stop.
But I put it on pause for a bit because, hey, I didn't know where to get it. Then in November of this year, I said, you know what, fuck it. I know that Oda is a great artist. He's a great draftsperson. He's great at composition. I know it is going to be a pleasure to actually read this thing. The Shonen Jump app had been out long enough that I'm like, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to start reading it. So I read like 50 chapters. And then I went out of town. And like, no better way to break your streak on something, at least for me, than being out of town for a week.
You didn't bring your phone with you. That's allowed. You can do that.
Oh, I did. I actually pre-downloaded some stuff for like plane flights and stuff. But it was going out to a convention, and I was just so busy the entire time.
Oh, okay.
That I didn't really have the downtime to read more of it. And then I fell off. And then Rona-chan came to town.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here with nothing to do. Animal Crossing just came out. I'm playing Animal Crossing. And I've got ADHD, so sometimes it's going to be hard to like sit and really focus on something unless it is my object of hyperfocus. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start this One Piece thing again. And eventually I'm going to find a smooth transition point. I'm going to hop off the anime and I'm going to go back to reading it because I know that's where the actual good shit is. But I'm still playing Animal Crossing, and I can't read the manga while I play Animal Crossing.
The problem with Animal Crossing is that it is the perfect backup activity. You can be always doing it secondarily because it doesn't require just massive focus because you're really just picking up an apple.
Yeah, exactly.
I still have to like unlearn the muscle memory from Stardew Valley where like if I'm standing around doing nothing for too much, I like start to get like fucking so anxious, like, oh no, it's gonna be the end of the day and if I don't get to bed I'm gonna pass out and lose half my money. And I'm like, wait, that just doesn't fucking happen.
No, thank God. Like, I appreciate the pressure that can be there in Stardew Valley. I'll space out. I've got a real bad habit where all the video games that I play, they have the playtime clock is like way longer than the amount of time I actually spent playing it. Because I just look away. and then I'm like, oh, fuck, I was playing a video game, wasn't I?
All right, we just not talking about video games. We're talking about One Piece.
No, we're talking about One Piece. We're talking about One Piece. So yeah.
So are you hooked now?
Oh, I'm incredibly hooked is the thing. It's gotten to the point where all of the neurotransmitters in my brain, they just fucking explode when I see one of those characters. I'm just like, oh shit. Oh fuck. Like,
yes.
I in my downtime between watching episodes of One Piece, I've actually just in the background sometimes I'll take out my laptop and I'll be like, all right, well, let's pull up the 4Kids English opening to One Piece just because they say their names and I'm like, yeah, Nami, they said it.
It's true, they do say it. Oh my god,
say it.
Yeah, and then when you hear it, you see it in your brain, and it's almost like you're watching it.
Yeah, exactly.
But the show, like, I started on the show, and then Tom said that was an abuse of my time, and I didn't stop. The show is slowly paced, though. You agree, right? Because as I was watching it, there would be times where something would be happening, like a scorpion is about to sting someone, and then it has to show everyone they've ever met before it cuts to the action.
No, I just got through the Skypiea arc, and I liked that more than I thought that I was going to. I had been like led to believe that it might kind of suck shit. But again, because of the slow pace of the anime, sometimes things were happening, and I'm just like, oops, what happened? The episode's over? Oh, shit. But the great thing about that is that in the next opening 6 minutes of the next episode, they just play all the footage from the last episode to get you caught up.
Yeah, it felt like watching Dragon Ball on TV as it aired, because you really sit down to watch an episode and there's honestly 6 minutes of new stuff because the first 10 minutes are a recap, and the last is telling you what's going to be recapped next time.
Right. And what you've described there is also essentially the process of reading those Riverdale novels.
Oh shit. Fuck. I will say about Skypiea, I think the one criticism I've heard that's sort of like legit is that it's not very connected to the rest of the plot. Like the plot is very self-contained, and the best One Piece shit is when every arc pours into the next one and it's all like sort of one continuous thing where things that happen keep reverberating for arcs to come. But I will say that Skypiea has one of the greatest page turns in all of fucking manga. I don't know how they do it in the anime, but like just for you listener at home, the villain is a guy who can turn into lightning, and he has sort of styled himself as a god because he is basically omnipotent because he is the best fruit and can kill anyone instantly without trying. And after like 100 chapters, Luffy finally gets to fight him, and the bad guy shoots him with lightning. And Luffy's made of rubber, so he doesn't do a fucking damn thing. And you turn the page, and there's a full page spread of this motherfucker's face just going like, hey!
Oh, fuck, that sounds so fucking good. Oh my god.
So, this power, like, how good is it? Like, you can just, like, will someone to die, and then they just get nuked by lightning?
Yeah, you can just strike someone with lightning, like nothing.
Like, what's the radius, though? Does he have to even be remotely near?
No, it's like, in Hunter x Hunter, the Nen ability N, where they just project this giant fucking field of their Nen outward, and they can sense anytime somebody moves in it. He's basically got that, but for a whole country.
Huh. Basically, what this power is if he wanted to take over the world, the only thing that could stop him is Luffy, because he's got the rubber fruit. And so, like... fucking what luck that he showed up.
My one big criticism for Skypiea is just like, it's weird because it tries to talk about colonialism, but it's really ham-fisted. Mm-hmm, and then the people that they're talking about are like weird Native American stereotypes, and it's like, all right. That's a choice.
There's a lot of monkey's paw scenarios with One Piece where it's like, man, I wish someone in my favorite manga would talk about colonialism. And then the paw curls and you're like, oh, shit. Well, okay, that one was bad. But, hey, I know one that's definitely not going to backfire. I wish there were trans characters who are powerful and respected and well-rounded. And then the monkey's paw curls again. And you're like, oh, it's probably going to be fine. And then they show up and it's like, oh, no.
God damn it, yeah. No, I definitely get that vibe, and I'm waiting for when things start cascading, because I hear all this shit, and like there's certain words that I know that I'm like, I know something, like Annie's Lobby.
Oh!
Well, yeah, and so like I know everyone's like, oh, fuck! And I've seen like a little bit of Don Flamingo, and I'm like, oh, shit, this guy, I know this guy.
Yeah, he's good.
And so I'm waiting for things to start like really crashing in on each other, and like, I know the Going Mary's about to die. Like, I know, especially because now that I'm through Skypiea, my fiance's just like, every time they look at me, they're like, I'm about to start crying. I look at that shit, but I know it's about to die, and I'm going to start crying, Quinn. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I have mentioned on the show before, reading One Piece on my lunch break at work and crying, and then going back to work, and then 2 hours later remembering what I read and crying at my desk. It was about the Going Merry. That was what made me cry. Oh my fucking god! So the reason I'm so hyped to hear this, that you're into One Piece, it is that reading One Piece when you're not surrounded by horrible, disgusting anime perverts is like it sort of got me ready for this Rona quarantine thing. Like, I was prepared already because I was already used to just having a very important thing that just stays locked up. Like, I think 3/4 of the time I'm thinking about One Piece, and it was like, boy, I wish I could talk about this. And then that's the end of the sentence.
Yeah, no, I feel you there, and I know eventually I'm going to switch back to the manga and I'm going to start actually tearing through it. I'm going to love that. I'm going to love that.
It's so good. It's so fucking good lately too. Like now, what's happening like right now is so goddamn good.
That's what I've heard.
It's so good. See, this is sort of the problem that we have when we talk about doing One Piece on the show, is that it's so fucking broad. Like, there's nothing that you can sort of sum up. It's just the thing that makes me most hyped, and I love it, and I want everyone to love it, so that I can talk about it and talk about what devil fruit you'd eat. What devil fruit would you eat?
Oh my god. So that's a great question. And right now, I feel like the spread of devil fruits that I've seen aren't like incredibly robust. Mm-hmm. Like, you get a couple of like, okay, so, you know, there's Buggy, and he shows up, he's like, I'm a chop man.
Yeah, I love Buggy!
I fucking love Buggy too, but I love how, especially early in the show, anytime you ran into someone who ate a devil fruit, they're like, no, I'm a smooth woman now. And
it's fucking awesome.
A smooth woman, huh?
Makes you frictionless and also hot, right?
Oh, yeah. For some reason, it made her into the same body that Oda puts on every woman.
The fucking real reason is that, like, smooth in Japanese sounds like sexy. So
okay.
It's very fucking dumb and is a goofy pun so that he could draw a titty.
Frankly, to compare that to some of the character design changes that happen in like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, because Araki just stopped giving a shit. He's like, I don't want to draw the president fat anymore. He's fucking jacked now.
He got sick of drawing muscles ever. He was like, everyone is very, I don't know, like tendony and like
yeah, everyone's a wood elf. Everyone's Kate Moss now.
Yeah, and so it's just like halfway through, you're like, wait, what? Oh, I guess that is the same character. But devil fruits I would eat. If I could, I would love to eat the smooth brain fruit. Just like let all those wrinkles out.
Just become pure. Just completely pure without flaw.
Well, right. Or there's the opposite, you know, to lean into the devil part of the devil fruit, I would eat the post fruit.
Oh, shit. No. You become a posting human.
Yeah, I'd become a post boy.
No.
I don't think anyone's ready for that. So one of the things that I'm really appreciating as I'm actually going through the story so far, even as I'm waiting for like things to start cascading into each other when there's like 900 named characters on stage.
And you know what each one of them wants and is doing and how they got here.
Right, I'm coming every time I turn the page and there's another one of them there. But something that I'm really appreciating as I'm reading it now is that, you know, a lot of that shonen battle manga stuff, that action-adventure story stuff, it gets so tied up in the action element of it. It can really get it bogged down. Like, anyone who's ever read or watched Bleach knows that at a certain point, it's just like, okay. But One Piece really sits with that, like, adventure part of it. And it reminds me a lot of, like, some of that early Dragon Ball stuff that was really good and interesting. You can see a lot of Oda's influence from early Dragon Ball Toriyama stuff, like with a lot of his creature design and stuff. But it's really just fucking refreshing to just be like, yeah, like, let's vibe, let's hang out in the forest or whatever, and get lost and cry because no one is around, instead of just punching each other for a few chapters.
That's one of the problems with Dragon Ball Z, is because when everyone can fly and there's like intergalactic travel, the sense of scale just kind of makes everything feel trivial. Whereas Dragon Ball, Yeah, to get on a dumb cloud to go anywhere.
Well, right, and he still needs Bulma, so he can't like leave her behind. And
God, like one sort of criticism of One Piece that I've seen, especially Oda as an artist, is that he doesn't really do fight choreography and like the arcs of like tactical fights like other shonen authors do. And like true, the fights are so fucking simple. Like when Luffy actually gets to fight the bad guy, well, he's gonna use a gum attack. He's gonna make his arm real big and punch. And he's gonna do that every fucking time.
Right.
Whenever Zoro fights, he's gonna get all three swords out and he's gonna do the onigiri slash and win. Like that's always gonna happen. And like because it's always so simple, he has the time, as you say, to afford to the fucking adventure part. And because there's all that long adventure, when the fight happens, even though you know exactly what's going to happen, it's cool because you know why it happened and what it symbolizes. And then you hoot and holler when our friends win the game.
Well, right, exactly. Because I just, having watched Skypiea and then having done the arc before that in Alabasta, he fought both of the like main arc villains there like 2 or 3 times. And each time he's like, it was basically the same fight every time, except in the end, like the last fight with Crocodile, he was bloody, so he was able to punch him.
Yes! Oh, yeah. That was so good.
Yeah, and also he was going to get poisoned, right?
Oh, yeah, he had poison like going through his veins, but he's like, I'm bleeding, which means you can die now.
Fucking whips.
And then in the fight with Eneru, like at the end of that, he's just like, I got a big gold ball on my hand, bitch!
He's like, I've won by fusing your hand to a bunch of gold. And he's like, I counter your move by just fucking not giving a shit.
Right. Like, I fused all this gold to your hand. Oh, you fell back to the bottom of a giant beanstalk. But as soon as I get back up there, it's over for you.
It's so fucking good. Like there are currently in the story, that arc that's going on now in the manga, there is a flashback that shows like it shows Gold Roger and like Whitebeard in their prime, which we've never seen before. And it shows like them doing their fucking pirate adventure that is legend now. And like it shows characters that we've seen only like past their prime fighting each other like in the strongest they've ever been. And it hits so hard. It's so impactful. It's like a huge dopamine surge. But here's the fucking thing. He doesn't actually like show the fights. Like the fights are always like one panel. It's the two guys that we know and like seeing each other, but this time they're young and not old. I'm like, oh my god, they're young and not old. And then they say some words to each other. I'm like, oh my god, those are fighting words. And then there's one panel where their swords clash and there's like a big effect of like lightning shooting up from the swords and cracking the sky. And then the next page is like a couple hours later, they're friends now. And I'm like, that was all I needed.
And honestly, it shows that Oda really understands what fights in shonen are about, and that's theme. It's a clash of ideology, and if I don't gotta show the whole fucking thing, let me just show him punch him one time, and you're like, you get it.
Yeah. I also think it might be like he knows the anime staff is like, please give us some filler to stretch out. And he's like, okay, here's a fight that takes one panel. Make it a whole episode.
Go to town. Fill in the blanks.
Sicko mode, sicko mode, sicko mode. Sicko mode, sicko mode, sicko mode. Sicko mode, sicko mode, sicko mode. Sicko mode, sicko mode, sicko mode.
Quinn, before we started recording and we were chatting online, I was delighted to find out that you all are also a huge Yakuza game person. I love these games. Tom has not played them. He's a fool, but I just think they're some of the best games ever made, like period.
Abso-fucking-lutely, yes. They are very much the One Piece of games. If you look at the sheer size and scale, you're like, oh yeah, play these 8 games. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's wild to think that like Yakuza 6 came out and it is very much an end of his series because like you are old. Like you're like what, 58 in it?
And so that's actually one of the fucking things that I love about Yakuza is that Kiryu's always been kinda old, except in Yakuza 0, but he's spent the entire series just been like, I'm like 45. I'm not a kid anymore. What the fuck is all this?
Zero's funny because everyone, like all the NPCs and stuff, will call you like babyface or like young guy, and he looks the same. It's just his jacket sucks.
Right. And like the 2 wrinkles that he has are smoothed out.
Yeah. And then he goes to prison, and I think he's in prison for like 3 or 4 years. And in the Kiwami, or the first Yakuza game, you come out of prison and everyone's like, "Hey, old man, you old piece of shit." Like he's 22.
Yeah, no, it's fucking something else. And I started with Zero because everyone was talking about how fucking good that game was.
Oh, I that's where I started too. I had a friend that was like, "Hey, there's a series it's really wild. It makes Grand Theft Auto look like a bunch of shit unless you really like driving." Which I hate driving in games. Like if I have to get into a car and it's not like Mario Kart, I don't like it.
It's hell to me. Yeah,
And they solved this by having the entire game in effectively like a 6-block radius.
I cannot believe how much they get out of those 6 blocks, though.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really appealing about the games is that the city feels really lively because everything is really dense. Like in open world-ish games, you have like a lot of like pointless buildings that don't do anything, and like literally every inch of storefront is either something you interact with or something that like happens to. Like you can't go into every store, obviously, but there will eventually just be like quests or NPCs that are like related to something that is not just background. Like it makes the whole city feel like real. And also it never feels like you outgrow the size of the place ever.
No, it's wild, and that's something that I really like. After like 6 games, it's become so like dense and layered that even if they have like approximately the same number of things to do across each game, it does reach the point where like, okay, this is my 7th go round in Yakuza 6. And oh my god, it's Club Stardust. I'm losing my shit. I just love... Remember Yuya? Fuck, I love that guy.
Okay. So I as Joe says, I haven't played these games. Is it the same 6 blocks every time? Are you just like kicking around your neighborhood over and over?
Yeah.
The first game starts in the 80s. Yakuza 0 takes place during the economic boom of 80s in Japan. Everything is like very gaudy. The theme is basically money. Like every time you fight a guy in the street and you kick their ass, like dollar bills just shoot out of them like they're Scrooge McDuck.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing. I love that money shit in that game. They capture the theme of that so well. But by Yakuza 6, it's 2016.
Shit. He must be old as fuck. That's what you said.
He is old as fuck. It's a game where you're an older guy who has to take care of a baby.
Okay. That brings up another thing that I want to ask you about. It seems to me, based on just what I've seen people talk about and screenshots I've seen shared, that Yakuza is a game where you're just walking around and some weird pervert is like, I have the craziest fetish and I need help to get to the place where I need to do my fetish. And Kiryu is like, that fetish seems fine to me, and helps walk him there. Is that the whole game?
So, here's the fucking wild thing about it. It is equal parts that and some of the most elaborate, well-developed, well-thought-out, well-plotted, character-driven crime drama that I've ever fucking experienced.
Yes, I am not overstating this when the crime narrative, especially of all of them, but especially Zero, it felt like an HBO show, but in the middle of the HBO show, you have to go do a crane game.
Right, and like you do a crane game for a little girl, and then she starts calling you daddy, and you're like, you gotta stop calling me that, kid.
Yeah.
That description really makes me believe it when you said that this is the One Piece of games. Because One Piece is like one of the most ambitious, long-form pieces of storytelling that I know of, where plot threads that start like 10 years ago just get constantly added to, and like they're still in the process of paying off and intertwining with other ones that have also been going on for 10 years. And at the same time, it's the baby show for cartoon babies, where Luffy is my big friend with a big goofy smile, and he wants to eat a piece of cartoon meat.
Oh, yeah, no, exactly. It's like simultaneously, there's this incredibly gritty, nuanced crime shit going on while you're controlling Kiryu and you're going around town, and he is the dumbest, most kind-hearted, most asexual motherfucker you've ever met in your life.
It's so funny because based on the name of the game, you're like, this is a game about being in the Yakuza. In Yakuza 0, the first game, the first thing that happens is you leave the Yakuza.
Yeah, he's never in the Yakuza. He's always like, or he's in there for like 5 minutes and he's like, fuck this, I'm out.
It's like the Sopranos in the first episode. Tony's like, oh, this mafia shit's wild. I'm going to focus on me.
I'm actually a tenor, I've decided. That's my new thing.
That is it. It's fucking like 36 years of this guy's life of at every single opportunity, someone saying like, we need you back for one last job. And he does it every time.
Yeah, and he even lies to himself all the time. Like at the end of 6, whenever there's like a big showdown with like a crime god, they're always like, I heard you were out. And at the end of 6, they're like, what are you doing? You're out of this. And he was like, after telling everyone in the whole game that he is no longer part of the Yakuza that's behind him, he's just like, yeah, I never really quit.
Right, and like he finally does it in the most official, like most drastic way ever. And then he turns around and is like, yeah, no, who do you fucking think I am?
Yeah, yep.
I'm just looking for an excuse to rip my shirt off and punch somebody.
So I remember seeing footage of Kiryu for some reason has to use a sort of a sex chat room, and he looks so scared and is typing with 2 fingers. Is that true?
Yes.
Yes.
He gets out of prison, and then the internet happened.
Oh, no.
And then he like literally any quest or anything that gets introduced in Yakuza, especially if there's like a time skip, he walks in like a toddler who's like, what is this? Well, can you explain computer?
Right, because if you look at the timeline of Yakuza, since he was like 22 years old or whatever, he has not been in prison for a total of like 6 years.
Hell yes.
He's constantly being sent back to prison for crimes he absolutely did not commit.
Yeah, because he's a nice guy, and he's always taking the fall. And every time he comes out of prison, they're like, this is what phones are now. And he's like, fuck.
It's incredible.
Oh my God. So, okay. So, the thing that I just am not able to grasp because I haven't seen it in action, and I think it's one of those things that you just have to see in action, is how the tone reconciles these two things you're talking about. Because this seems like it could really suck ass. Like anytime a video game has a funny thing in it, it's the worst thing in the universe, and I hate it. How come this is good?
Basically for the same reason that One Piece is. They just thread that needle in a way that is like subtle and almost imperceptible, and you're just like, what the fuck? How did you do that?
Yeah, every like quote unquote jokey quest is funny, not because there are jokes, because it's just like, wouldn't it be funny if Kiro had to chase down a Roomba? And that's why it's good.
Exactly.
And, like, it doesn't have like Kiryu saying like, this really sucks, and like every 2 fucking seconds as he runs after the Roomba.
No. And that's so one of the things that I think really makes it work is that Kiryu is fundamentally this incredibly like gregarious, helpful person. And so he will let himself be strung along so far into the most ridiculous situations. And it's this really, really strong character writing and understanding of like the psychology of the main players of the story, and sometimes really minor players of the story, that drives that crime drama, that allows them to do this incredibly well-grounded, deeply hilarious comedy at the same time. Because they just know how this fucking doofus is going to react.
Certainly in Zero, like, I don't want to overstate it, but I feel like a third of the side quests are just you getting actively scammed and then kicking everyone's ass because they scammed you. But you do not resort to violence until it is like 100% confirmed they scammed you hard. Like, he will politely, get strung along like 3 times.
Yeah, no, like he will wait until the ink has dried, and they're like, oh yeah, no, officially, like, you have to pay all of our mortgages now. And he's like, God damn it.
Fool me once. I'm probably mistaken. You didn't fool me. Fool me twice, I bet you didn't mean it. Fool me 3 times, now I'm getting upset. Fool me 4 times, now I'm going to kick your ass.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like, oh yeah, you want me to go to prison again? All right, you sure? You sure? You're not joshing me? Okay.
And for a game that, like, it's violent. It's not gory though, but it is violent. It's the violence is. I don't want to say. How would you describe it, Quinn? It's not like realistic, quote unquote, but it is very grounded in reality in a way that, like, fighting a bunch of people on the street would actually feel.
Right. It really threads this needle between feeling like a fun to play solid character action game with, like, there is a level of viscerality to it. Like, I've been playing Yakuza 5. I'm like almost done there. I'm at the finale of that. And I got derailed by a bunch of shit. And I got Yakuza poisoning because I played like 90 hours of Yakuza in too short a period of time. Mm-hmm. But there's a heat move that you do in that game. You know, one of your special abilities where someone's on the ground and then Kiryu just grabs their face and presses it into the asphalt and rubs it back and forth.
Oh
yeah.
Shit.
And your controller fucking vibrates with each scrape, and it's like incredibly visceral and a little bit upsetting every time you do it.
But in, like, the context of video games, it's just such a small movement. There's nothing flashy about it. His arms are barely going back and forth.
Right, like it could be. Sometimes Yakuza is just anime, 100%.
Someone at one point in the game definitely deflects bullets with a katana. I'm pretty sure that happens.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's grounded in this way that really, I don't know how they managed to just juxtapose that grounded in reality with this incredibly heightened state of everything, but that's what it is. That is just Yakuza in a nutshell.
So you mentioned you wanted to connect this talk of Yakuza with another game, Shenmue 3. I believe you had a special specific thing you wanted to talk about from Shenmue 3.
Right. So, here's the thing. I played Yakuza 0 in 2016, and it basically blew my entire shit apart. Like, it changed the way that I understand that video games can work. I
was casually gaming, like, on and off, and then Yakuza 0, like, made me do a deep dive on a game because just for all the reasons you said. It was like, oh shit, yeah, this is what this does. This is the hobby, huh?
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I would probably I talked about Yakuza poisoning before, but honest to God, if I only had the collection of Yakuza games to play for the rest of my life, I'd probably be happy. They're that good, but there's, like, the style and tone that Yakuza has that is very much building off of Shenmue. And I'd never played Shenmue. And so, like, the end of last year, I played through Shenmue's 1 and 2.
So for the listeners, can you just kind of explain what Shenmue is? Because I know it as a Dreamcast game that I didn't play, that people had a lot of strong opinions on one way or the other.
I know it's the game where a extremely dim man walks up to every single person he meets and says, "Do you know where I can find some sailors?"
Right. So it is a game where you play like an 18-year-old Japanese virgin in high-waisted jeans.
So this sounds like the best game of all time.
And he's wearing like a suede leather jacket with a tiger on the back of it. And his dad died. His dad was murdered in front of his eyes, and he's trying to solve his dad's murder. But what the actual gameplay is you are walking around town. Everyone's on like a regimented schedule that they live by that schedule. And so if you miss them in like the window of opportunity you have, you're going to need to wait 20 real-life minutes minimum until you can catch them again. But it is like this simulation of this small town in Japan. And there's elements of crime drama to it. There's elements of like wuxia or martial arts movies. But ultimately, it's this incredibly halted, strange experience of someone who dreamed too big for what technology could do at the time.
So in the case of Shenmue 3, where the technology is more capable, does it deliver or what?
So it's really fucking funny because Yu Suzuki, the guy who directs it, it's like Yu Suzuki did not pay attention to what was happening in video games across the like 15 years between Shenmue 2 and Shenmue 3.
He took a nap.
And it seems like he picked up one thing, and that sometimes games have stamina meters.
Oh, no!
So, Shenmue 3 starts off, and you're in this small village in China, and you're just, like, kind of hanging out, trying to get your shit together, but you now have a stamina meter, and it's incredibly hard to make any money. God, your best shot is to talk to an old man who runs the shop, and he'll say, like, oh, yeah, do you want to take your shirt off and chop wood in front of me? I'll give you a couple yuan for every piece of wood you chop.
Meanwhile, in Yakuza, it's like beat guys up, and eventually one of them will drop a gold dinner plate, which you can go to the pawn shop and sell.
Yeah, exactly. But that drains your stamina. Everything in that game drains your stamina. You move around, drains stamina. It's also your health. So, like, you get hit in a fight, you lose stamina. Good thing there's only 4 fucking fights in that game. But
wait, okay. Are you telling me this is a game where Numby go down?
Primarily, Numby go down.
What the fuck? I'm seeing red, motherfucker.
Do you have
what
to
is
sleep?
This?
Oh, you gotta sleep, and in order to get that stamina up, you can also eat. And this is where things got really fucking weird for me. So I'd spend a bunch of time chopping wood, and I found that the best stamina to, like, yuan ratio was in this item called caterpillar fungus. And I thought nothing of it. And then John, one of the co-hosts of Arms of the Tide, he was like watching me. He's like, what the fuck? This is such a stupid game, Quinn. What the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, I just make the boy eat the caterpillar fungus and the stamina comes back. And then he gets on his phone for like 3 minutes and he looks back at me. He's like, you know, that's boner fungus, right?
Oh my God.
That's to make you have a big boner. That's what caterpillar fungus is.
Oh my God.
And how many did you make the boy eat?
Oh, he ate like 90 of them. He would eat probably 4 to 5 caterpillar funguses a day.
He would turn into a were-penis.
Yeah. So
this is probably a substance that you're supposed to like have a little bit of dust of, and you're just feeding him like a big fucking steak.
Yeah, no, he's shotgunning them and then heading back out to chop wood for the horny old man. And at that point, I felt so completely exploited by this game that I like did not know how to continue.
I don't know if there was a movie, if there was like a revenge saga movie about like martial arts and revenge, and the main character just in the second act was like, well, I know what I gotta do. Money doesn't grow on trees, but what does grow on trees is fungus. I'm gonna eat this boner mushroom and chop wood constantly, and nothing's gonna change. I'm just gonna repeat that like 10 times, and then we can move on. If that happened, I would really respect the choice, the audacity of it all.
So here's the thing that I actually do genuinely respect about Shenmue 3. Because back in the day, Shenmue 1 came out, and Yu Suzuki's like, this is part 1 of a 16-part epic.
Of 16 games? Is that his intention?
Yeah.
And there aren't even like 16 Mega Mans.
Right. It's fucking bananas. So you get through Shenmue 2, which is the game where fucking anything happens. Like, plot happens in Shenmue 2, and it's actually relatively engaging. But then you get to Shenmue 3, and he's like, no, it's been 15 years. The plan has not changed.
Oh my God.
You see the man who killed your dad for like 15 seconds. And they're like, nope.
Jesus Christ.
You better wait around for Shenmue 4 if that ever happens.
It sounds like Yakuza just did everything that game was designed to do better and like 10 years earlier.
Yes, yeah. So like Yakuza was influenced originally, like some of the people who went on to design Yakuza worked with Sega on the first 2 Shenmue games. And then they made games that were actually good.
Yeah, where Kiryu meets a lesbian and is like, I've never heard of that before. And then he gets it explained to him, and he's like, why would anyone make fun of you for that?
Yeah, exactly.
How dare they?
Exactly. Instead of just like, oh, have you seen my dad? Oh, well, might as well eat some more boner fungus.
We're the anime sickos, and we're here to say anime is bad in a war crime way.
Quinn, you are like me in a very bad and dangerous and harmful way, which is specifically that for whatever reason, we are constantly tempted by the siren call of YouTube video essays about anime.
Yeah. there's a couple folks who I know that I can trust. I know I can go to them, and I can get the good shit from them. Super Eye Patch Wolf is amazing. He's great.
One thing that I love about him is that in every single one of his videos, he picks a word to say insanely wrong every single time. I love that.
I love it. It's so good.
Joe, you remember he is the one who said pseudo instead of pseudo?
He's the Irish guy who says pseudo. Yes. The problem with pseudo is now that's how I say it. It's just in there now. It's so funny.
So his stuff is really, really great. And then I sometimes watch stuff from Mother's Basement, who mostly puts out good stuff. He's taken a hard left turn over the last little bit, which I appreciate. But sometimes he gets a little weird about the horny stuff.
Yeah. My experience with him is I watched a video from him about like why we like Food Wars. I like Food Wars, and I don't like that I like it because it's a whoa.
Yeah.
If you've seen it, you know.
And you did a whole episode about it where you pointedly avoided talking about the elephant in the room.
Anyway, but he did a video essay about Food Wars where he did the same sort of thing that we did, where we talk about like the characters and the story and the themes and the emotions, et cetera, and why that's what makes it great. And then he's like, and now you have to talk about the elephant in the room, all of the sexualization. I'm like, okay, I see where this is going. He's going to talk about how it's a shame that it's like this, and it's too bad, and it makes the show worse. And he says, in the show's defense, all of the girls, and I'm like, I know what this is going to do. He's going to end the sentence by saying all the girls are really well-written and well-rounded characters. But what he actually says is, in the show's defense, all the girls are really hot. And I'm like, what? What?
They're children!
They're fucking, like, are you... He's basically saying, like, hey, all my subscribers, this video is going to be watched by hundreds of thousands of people. I definitely jack my dick. I totally pound my hog to these anime titties on these teen girls. I do it. I use it for its intended purpose, and I love doing it. And it's like, wow.
Remember to hit like and subscribe.
Yeah. No, that stuff is rough. He's toned that back a lot. And you know what? I find myself in a place where I say, at least he's not the anime YouTuber who's out there literally defending Lolita porn. But
yeah, now you've opened the door. You have to walk through it. Talk about the shitty guys.
All right, so I've decided recently, because you watch two anime YouTubers and then suddenly your algorithm, the YouTube algorithm is already dangerous. It's like hanging out under an unstable boulder.
Yeah, you watch two anime videos and you got to get a whole new identity. You got to reset.
Well, right. So I watched two anime YouTube essayists swap that boulder out. It's basically the Sword of Damocles now. And I decided recently that I was going to try to take a journey. And I was going to start that journey by taking a little razor and going up to that Sword of Damocles and just like really trying to get that thread down as thin as possible.
Just trying to shear off one layer of atoms at a time.
Just see how close I can get.
So
I started.
Tell me.
I started watching these recommended YouTube videos, and there's this really weird gamut that they run from, like, these people don't know how to do media criticism to, oh, you're just a racist.
Yeah. When you watch a YouTube video essay from someone that you don't know who they are, it's like you're literally playing Russian roulette for slurs. Like, at any fucking time, there could be a hard R, a hard F. You just don't know.
I think that there's more meat for discussion in actually talking about the failures of the critical apparatus of some of these people. So I want to touch back on that, but I want to sort of take an accelerationist position and barrel right toward the end here.
Yes, do it.
I start with videos that are like someone saying, here's a list of a bunch of the religious symbolism in Hunter x Hunter with very little like actual commentary on it. And then at the end,
just like, isn't it cool that it's there?
Right. And then at the end, he's just like, and I guess when you think about it, the Chimera Ant arc is all about like Catholic redemption, right? And I'm like, I'm not sure that tracks. No. I might take a more, like, structuralist critique in terms of power dynamics, but go to town. Then it's stuff like someone who has a video dedicated to the fight between Naruto and Neji in Naruto was bad because Naruto wins and he shouldn't have won. Not because of any, like, thematic reason, but because Neji just was powerful enough that he should have won.
This is funny to me when there are people who don't devote like so much of their life to media consumption, and then you never like you learn what a theme is.
Yeah, yes.
Well, right,
like,
and
there's one fight in One Piece. I'm not going to spoil it for you, Quinn, because you are ages away from seeing it. But it's where Luffy is fighting a guy who is just stronger and better than him in every way. There's like absolutely nothing Luffy can do that matches what this guy can do. And at the end, the guy sort of gives up and lets Luffy go. And he sort of like collapses out of exhaustion as he does this, which people take to mean Luffy beat him. And they're like, there's no way Luffy could beat him because that guy is stronger. The show said he was stronger. Even though multiple times characters have all but turned to the camera and said, the Gum Gum fruit is powerful. But in a way, couldn't you say that Luffy's real power is his ability to inspire people and get them on his side? Why, in many ways, that's much more likely to change the world than a simple devil fruit. Anyway, and every single YouTuber in the world just can't understand this fight at all. And so they make 30-minute videos where they explain all of Luffy's attacks and why they might actually work.
Okay, so do you want me to take us to the end of the barrel here, or do we want to talk about this depravity of media consumption or media analysis? Because I can get into it. I can go there.
Get into it.
All
go
right.
there. Go
I'm
there.
very interested in this because there's never been a time in human history where people consume more narratives, right? Like it just TV, podcasts, whatever. There's never been an easier way to consume fiction, nonfiction narratives, whatever. And despite that, if anything Game of Thrones has taught me, no one knows anything. Like no one has ever learned cause and effect.
Nobody knows shit. And one of my favorite examples of this is people who have 15 to 45 minute long videos detailing the exact power level of the different characters in Dragon Ball Z. Because it's like, okay, how much time did you spend with this content? How much time were you in it, reading it, consuming it, analyzing it, for you not to fucking realize that by the time they're dealing with Frieza, and it's a fucking theme through the Saiyan arc too, that those scouters don't mean shit. The thing is, they show up and they say, oh, you have a puny little power level, you stupid little worm. And then Goku's like, surprise, bitch, I'm Goku. And then he wins. And so it's like, oh, power level doesn't mean anything. There's several scenes where the villains disbelievingly crush the symbol of power level, the scouter, and scream like, this is meaningless.
Yeah, but what that numby do, though?
But what is the number in hundreds of billions?
It's so fucking... So, I don't know if you know this, but we fucking played the Dragon Ball Z RPG for Shuffle Quest, our stupid RPG show, and the fucking system is basically like, well, when Goku shoots a beam, his power level is like 10,000, so roll 10,000 d6.
Imagine the person you just described who's obsessively cataloging power levels that don't matter. They made the game.
Fuck.
It's so fucking bad.
And so the more of these videos I watch, the more I am genuinely surprised by people's inability to consume media. We have so much at our disposal. And people don't have like a framework or an ideology. They can't express why Naruto won the fight with Neji. They're just like, I don't fucking get it. He dug a hole in the ground and then he punched him in the face. That was the only time he hit him. He shouldn't have been knocked out by a single punch. And I'm like, I get incredibly like Slavoj Zizek, and I'm just like, it's pure ideology.
Yeah, you start sniffing and scratching your face.
Yeah, no.
Like the theme that really makes me lose my mind on that same token is the YouTubers who debunk plot holes in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh my god!
It betrays a fundamental misunderstanding of like how the human brain works and what labor conditions for a mangaka are.
And like what Araki is on the record saying about shit.
Yeah,
He's like, I'm so tired. Let me sleep.
he got as close as he possibly could to titling his manga, I'm just gonna go off every week with some wild shit.
Right.
And everyone's still like, nah, I bet he planned everything, though. Like, there are so many plot holes in the story, and it doesn't fucking matter at all or make the story worse, because that's not what is important at all. It's all about the flash and the style and the goofiness and seeing something crazy that you never would have thought you saw. The fact that, like, this plot thread never got wrapped up, or like, I think actually that stand user would have been able to solve this problem really easily. The fact that those plot threads are not tied up is not a bad thing. It's just the nature of the fucking series. And if you're a fan of it, and the fact that those plot threads remain unfulfilled makes you upset or like it less, then, like, what made you fucking like it?
No, exactly. I don't get it, because yes, there are themes in JoJo. Yes, there's some stuff going on. No, this shit is not planned out. Like,
like,
I mean, the theme is dudes rock.
More or less, yeah.
Like, the worst part of, I think, any JoJo part is the end of part 5, and anyone who tries to explain that, like, well, actually, if you think about it, it actually makes a lot of sense, because the theme has been fate, and then this new power has a lot to do with fate, and it's like, no, it fucking doesn't. The theme hasn't been fate. The theme has been, let's have some fights. That's been the theme. That's what we're here for.
Right. The theme has been, I'm going to somehow make Italian organized crime not sell drugs anymore. Like, that was Giorno's initial motivation. He's like,
he's gonna turn it around.
We're gonna do the mob with none of the drugs. And it's like, you fucking baby.
He wants to make a independent rogue socialist state where everyone pays taxes and gets free socialist care, and everyone's needs are met by the state.
But the mafia still kills you. Like, he was never against murder.
Well,
no.
Exactly. He's like, no, it's the drug shit that sucks. So, yeah, JoJo is incredibly slapshot, and I agree, the end of part 5 is a mess. It is really funny seeing people, like, get out there and defend it. Like, it's cool. It's a spectacle, I guess.
Just, like, I want to just recap. So, basically, he gets a power, or he ascends his being, and his ability is that he can take away people's will. So even if they're going to kill you and win, you just get depressed and lose instead.
Yes.
Kind of, but also you get trapped in a time loop where you get killed infinitely, and then also you get to give a big speech that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and if this seems like really vague and weird, it doesn't make any more sense in the context of the show.
And if you're a fan of a show and you know and you've watched 5 parts, you should know by now that Araki's plot structure is the plot structure that a slave would come up with, who had to come up with a chapter of manga every fucking week of his goddamn life.
Right. So what the writing process for JoJo appears to me to be, Hirohiko Araki has 1 hour of free time every week. And during that 1 hour of free time every week, he opens an encyclopedia to a random page.
Yes.
Whatever he remembers from having looked at that encyclopedia page is what he's going to try to milk for the next 5 chapters.
I call this Snapple Cap stuff. Like, he sees a Snapple Cap and he's like, oh, I got an arc idea. The sun is hot.
Yeah, no, right? Jellyfish do be eating pee.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
and just like part of fucking understanding media is being like, well, I know what this is and I know what it's about. And one thing that it isn't is a tightly woven saga. It's just nonsense, and that's fun. But these motherfuckers are just like putting out the most dour, humorless videos where they talk about, like, well, if you look at this panel, you might be able to take this to mean this other thing that was foreshadowed a couple of chapters earlier. So that's proof that plot thread is tied up. That's all good. And it makes me want to die.
I did watch one of these videos, and my favorite thing that I saw in that video was they were pointing out how much a character had changed. Like we had talked about earlier, they were talking about the president in part 7, who starts off as like this tiny, fat little gremlin, and then by the end of it is like 9 feet tall and shredded.
Yes.
And He even kind of cites Araki being like, oh yeah, I don't care. Sometimes I just like forget or decide that they would look better this way. And he ends up by saying, see, it's not a plot hole. It's just an art style change. And it's like, that's not the sterling defense that you think that it is, buddy.
Yeah, Araki was like, I'm very tired. Leave me alone. That's that's the theme.
It will be more fun to draw it like this, so I'm going to do that.
Right, it's easier for me to spend these 19 hours a day at my desk if I make him hot, so shut the fuck up. So
God damn it.
Yeah, and then it's like a bunch of people doing baby shit. There's also a subgenre of video that I found that is like along these lines, but in my opinion, even worse, which is when they do basically fantasy booking of different characters.
That sounds actually awesome. What's wrong with that?
Well, they don't understand what theme is and like what makes the characters actually interesting. They just like pull out a spreadsheet of all of the powers that they've ever used.
Oh, okay. So this is just like a more complicated version of would Superman beat Goku?
Right, exactly. And so it's like, okay, well, here's every piece of like every power they ever used, and its approximate impact. And it's like, oh, well, he would just show up and he'd activate that, and then he'd win. And it's like, no. The thing that's fun about fantasy booking, like if you come from wrestling, and I don't know shit about wrestling really, but I know that fantasy booking is about like what cool storyline can we make show up here. And there's so much potential in anime to tell cool stories by bashing the fucking action figures together. And what I have is fucking Martin from accounting sitting with 18 volumes of Naruto and just being like, it says here that Senju Harashima, he made big wood. And I think that'll pretty handily win this fight.
I think this is a similar sort of impulse with these JoJo people who feel the need to explain the parts that don't make any sense, which is that they think that like if something is good, it's because there is a list of the reasons it's good and it checks all the boxes. And the numbies are high. I've rated all the sections high with high numbies, and I've added them up, and it's a big numbie, so it proves I'm right to like anime.
There is this weird, sick obsession with the idea of objectivity in a lot of media criticism, and it comes with that, like, no, this fight must be, like, objectively good, like, and it's like, no, you don't know what objective really means, first of all, do you? How you engage with objectivity in the consumption of art, which is to say almost not at all.
Also, like, what art form is more just addicted to playing on your lizard brain emotions than anime?
No, exactly.
It's all about, like, my friend hurt. No. Oh, good. My friend hit Badman. Good.
No, I shit you not. I cried during, like, watching One Piece just because Tony Chopper, my good friend who I love and who's adorable, was distressed for too long. I was like, fuck, stop! Leave him alone!
Yes! Like,
And so I was like, no, this is objectively who would win in a fight here. Or this is like an objective rundown of the themes. And I'm like, okay, hold on.
So where does this horrible compulsion come from? Because it's everywhere. And it makes me laugh because when Game of Thrones was ending and there was that scene of Daenerys where there was like the two dragon wings behind her and everyone unironically was like, they're going to teach this scene in film school. And I'm like, oh, so everyone's never seen a movie before, I guess.
I think that as a culture, we have what I would like to describe as Neil deGrasse Tyson's disease.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
well fucking put.
Oh, wow. Yes. You really charted that out perfectly.
And that's basically it. We just got a bad case of that Neil deGrasse Tyson's disease, which is, it's that CinemaSins style approach to finding every small logical inconsistency or hole and trying to like pick that apart so much that sort of the entire sweater of whatever it is comes together. And it's like, yeah, if you keep picking at threads, you're gonna find something, but that's not what criticism is. And then I guess like the inverse of that is because you're not trying to look at or engage with themes, It's only when themes show up so strongly and so like unignorably.
They really hit you with it. Just like really blatant.
Right.
Yo, what if she the dragon? What if dragon be her?
And at that point, they have no choice but to simply surrender and say, like, look at the size of these boys' brains. I can't believe that they've done it again.
Yeah, this also seems related to the notion about apoliticalness, where people with the smoothest brains on the planet will insist that, like, things are apolitical, which doesn't mean anything. They'll be like, Godzilla doesn't have politics. And it's like,
yeah, Godzilla.
It's literally born out of, like, fear of nuclear everything.
Yo, homie, I watched Godzilla and the word Democratic and Republican didn't get said once, so that's proof that it's not politics.
I think that you would find if Godzilla was political, he would look like Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, he'd have a big, impressive throat pouch.
These are the kinds of people who are like watching a wrestling match and are like, why does he not simply grab the hanging belt quickly? Why does he take quite a long time and allow his opponents to knock him down?
I'm not a wrestler, but I've gone up a ladder and it never took me that long.
Right. Yes. If I were a wrestler, I would simply ignore the cries of my opponents while ascending the ladder.
I would do it right away. I would not taunt them at all, for that is wasting time.
I think that's why I'm such a sucker for the stupid I would simply joke format, because it speaks to like a certain smugness that like how people actually interact with the world. My favorite of all time is still if Ted Bundy tried to kill me, I would simply parry his attacks.
It is one of my favorite joke formats. It is up there.
Just to wrap this segment up, I just want to... We've talked a lot about how these things are awful psychic poison that kills us, but we should address at least a little why we keep going back to the well. For me personally, I just love it when someone on the TV is talking about anime and is saying that the anime is good, because that's what I think. And so I'm getting told that I'm right, which is like the best feeling in the universe.
Yeah.
And then when they're dumb, I get to feel right and smarter than them.
Yes, that is unfortunately more or less it. Like, oh yeah, I totally agree, or like I see where you're coming from. I think you're making some solid points. Or who taught you life? You fucking buffoon. And speaking of that, if you want to go hard in the opposite direction, the darkest place that this took me, I think this is especially true when you start talking about some of those objectivity obsessed people, is when I started finding videos where the YouTuber had an avatar. And I sent you guys some of these images as I was finding them.
They were quite bad.
It's like a man. It's like just a man in a suit with Goku in a face mask.
If you have an avatar, it's a cartoon version of you in a suit, but your face is like goofy. That's just, you're done. That's over for me.
And one of these videos I found was from this guy whose avatar was arguably even weirder because it just looked like a depraved Victorian child from Bleach. But he sounded like Gilbert Gottfried. And I watched like 2 of his videos and I was like, this is mostly screeching. Like he's mostly just screaming. And he's saying a lot of words that I'm like, okay, that sounds like a red flag. That sounds like a red flag. Like, oh, okay, I'm treading real carefully here. And I guess at this point, talking about that motivation, it's almost at the same time like playing Minesweeper. It's like, when am I going to fucking set the bomb off? When am I going to set the bomb off? And I looked at his most recently updated videos, and it was like, betrayed by my hero, my number one inspiration of all times, iDubbbz is a simp. And I was like, God fucking damn it.
Oh my God.
I have to watch this video now. And he's like, the thing that was cool about iDubbbz is that he said the N-word 9 times and nobody could do shit. And I'm like,
God.
Okay, I have to back out. I have to stop this now. I'm going to go watch One Piece instead. Like,
you found the mine.
Yeah.
There it is. You stepped on it. Your leg's gone now. Oopsie.
Yeah, I fucked myself up. I don't know. Unfortunately, my fiance had to sit through it too. Like, I was just like listening to those videos while they were working.
Oh no.
And
now your algorithm's like destroyed.
My algorithm's fucked. Yeah.
Yeah, you're the Ben Shapiro boy now. You know the Turning Point USA. Go to PragerU.
I'm trying to recalibrate my algorithm, but I logged on today, and YouTube's like, oh, here's some suggested search terms for you. And the number one thing up there was anime, and I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Be cool, Google.
Cog Talk. Cog Talk.
So one fun thing about being a cog in the world today is that it stopped being a bad thing and started being like the most valuable thing in the entire universe because it means you get to stay living in a house. But also it means that you're constantly on fucking video meetings.
Yeah, so I don't use Zoom. I feel like Zoom is this experience I'm missing out on, but not really. We use Cisco WebEx for everything, which is as far as I can tell, it's a really expensive program, which is pointless because no one talks into a microphone. Everyone loves whispering under your desk. Everyone loves just to loudly be chewing. It's just the worst shit, and that's our new normal now.
You have to constantly listen to a live podcast made by the dumbest motherfuckers.
It is interminable. And I also have the benefit of being a graduate student, which means I still have to show up for virtual classes via Zoom, which means there's 30 people in the chat. And then,
oh no,
one person has been like in a co-working space or something. And every time they try to contribute to conversation, thank God they don't just leave their microphone unmuted all the time. There's some folks who do that. But anytime they try to contribute to the conversation, I just hear like 3 dudes in the background yelling about Mario Kart.
These guys sound awesome.
Well, yeah, I'm like, oh, hold on, what's going on there? What did they say about Toad?
I'm doing my remote classroom from the auction. Sorry, there's a guy yelling behind me.
Yeah, no, you definitely get that. I decided that I was going to walk out of my house for class today and spend some time at the beach. I'm here with my phone pointed directly at the ocean.
I am here at the air horn testing factory. They got to make sure all the air horns are appropriately loud so that they can be on rap singles. This is my favorite place to hang out. I got a buddy who works here. He lets me test some of the air horns. Anyway, just don't mind me.
Yeah, I hope you're all chill with me here in class tonight. You know, normally it's scheduled at kind of an inconvenient time. It's when I normally break all the plates in my house. So I'm just going to take advantage of the fact that I'm home right now to do that. Let me know if it starts getting on your nerves. I will not stop.
So you're in grad school during the time where the transition had to happen, where everything had to go remote. Here's my question. How fucked was it? Were your professors and people in your program prepared to teach like this, or was this just a real trial by fire situation?
Oh, it's incredibly trial by fire because I'm in training. I'm in a grad program for marriage and family therapy. So not only am I needing to like show up to class, we're needing to figure out like what therapy looks like because we need a certain number of hours of therapy to graduate.
Right.
And they're like, basically like, oh, well, none of the numbers mean anything anymore, huh? That's all just fake.
Right, because you need like 1,000 hours of on-site work, which is fake now.
Yeah, exactly. So, we need 500 hours to graduate, and then for licensure, we need 3,000.
So the whole discipline needs to come up with a workaround real fast.
Yeah, exactly, because that's what they're working on, and my faculty today is having a meeting to be like, so what number do we decide is adequate to push them out in?
Oh God. So wait, are am I understanding this correctly in that like, and maybe this just hasn't been decided yet, but like, so you have to do therapy on Zoom.
Oh yeah,
on the TV,
yeah,
on the computer screen. That sounds like the worst thing in the whole universe for a number of reasons. But the main one is, I assume this is in this sort of scenario, you're going to have to use your camera, your laptop camera, in order to sort of put the person at ease so they can read your body language. Mm-hmm. If I were in that scenario, and every time I'm in a scenario when I'm on a video call, I'm only looking at one thing, and it's the little window that I'm in. And I will never look at anything other than that, no matter how hard I try. That seems like a bad fucking move when you're doing therapy. How do you work around that?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly self-conscious about it because not only do I have that problem, I've got a laptop from like 2012 or something, and the webcam is getting to the point where it's just full of dead pixels. So it looks like I'm covered in little black worms.
It's like a jigsaw video from
Yeah, so incredibly comforting for my clients who are trying to like figure out what life is like right now. And I've got 2 moves. One, look down at my notes because I take physical notes during a session. So, okay, I don't have to like worry about that too. I just try to like lock eyes with the lens of the camera and be like, okay, let's make this work, huh?
Do you think that is like more intense eye contact than you would do in person? Because I during a video call, I was doing the same thing, and I had that same thought where I was like, is this like equivalent, or would this be the equivalent of like me staring at someone and never blinking?
Yeah, so, and it's weird because I've realized this thing about myself that when I'm a therapist, I'll more or less like keep general eye contact. Like I'm not trying to force someone to keep eye contact with me, but I sort of keep in that range. But when I am receiving therapy, the last thing I will do, I will die if I look at my therapist in the fucking eyes.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, I'm constantly looking around the room. Like for some reason, if I like lock eyes with them, I'm like, don't you look at my soul.
Actually, now that you say that, I'm a huge eye contact person all the time, and the only time I'm actively looking away was in therapy, so I totally relate. I didn't even realize I was doing it till you said that.
You got therapized now.
Boom.
Yeah.
So it's incredibly weird. People have fucked up internet connections. People have bad microphones, so like they're just like tinny and in the distance sometimes. And I don't know. When my personal therapist got in contact with me, it's like, hey, shit's fucked right now. We gotta like move to Zoom so that we don't give each other the plague. So how are you feeling about that? And I said, oh no, absolutely not. I would die before I did that.
You're like, I'm all better now. You fixed everything.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I know it's a requirement for me to graduate. I will sort it out later.
I think this is a symptom of like how a lot of the social mores and sort of the ways that COG life works is based on just agreements and courtesy that we've all come to understand after fucking like decades of doing this shit. Like we know how to do an email right. We know how to like circle back with someone. But now in this motherfucking time where everyone has to do calls all the time and you can never speak real, what we have is like every third person just thinks that the microphone is a thing that you're supposed to put a bunch of wind into and just shoot air as much as possible into that hole. That's the goal. And no one is like telling them no.
You don't want to seem rude too, right? You
No.
want to be the guy that's like, just so you know, you're doing it wrong.
It's this really fucked up situation that you're put in where when you enter like the desecrated space of your office and you put those cog chains on, you are entering a sort of social contract. Like you're like, okay, I'm going to debase myself in these ways, and in order to make that debasement like the least amount of uncomfortable as possible for everyone in this situation, we've sort of figured out some modes of social lubricant.
Yeah, you're like, I realize I am the shirtless guy chopping wood for the creep. I know what I'm doing right now.
Right, exactly. And so, like, rule number 1, you don't make eye contact with the creep while you're doing it. You figure that shit out pretty quick. But we're not in that desecrated space anymore. We're in our homes, and at the same time, the hell of cog work is bleeding into the space. And so, like, everyone's, like, home to work persona or life ratio is completely fucked. And some people decide that the way to get through that is just by blowing hot air into the microphone without muting
Is by constantly thinking that the little mute icon means the opposite thing. It's like, line through microphone, that mean they hear.
Oh, right. This is the button I press when I eat a banana, right?
Yeah. Like I try my best to be courteous, which is to say, be on mute constantly and speak as little as possible. But like one thing that I do is I have a second monitor at home that is to the right of my laptop, and my laptop has the fucking webcam on it. So I put all the sort of important stuff on the big monitor to the right, which includes the video calls. So whenever I'm on a video call, my feed is me looking to the right, and I'm constantly looking to the right. And I'm wondering, like, we've been talking about eye contact. Like, are people pissed at me? Are they thinking like, Tom, how come you're not a good cog hog looking directly into my eyes?
And
because they're looking right at it.
Right. And you know what I'm actually realizing here is that this whole fucked up situation, it almost proves that Michel Foucault's thought experiment with the panopticon of having everyone in a prison where you could be looked at any given time and you never know, so you sort of enforce those rules inherently. You don't need the guards of the prison anymore because you're enforcing that. That's bullshit, because you can get on a Zoom call and someone's just blowing air and eating bananas and burping their fucking baby, and I'm looking at it. The panopticon's here and it's fucking bullshit.
The panopticon thing is true, though. I was just talking with someone about this today, how I feel the need to be close to my laptop. Like, if I am like reading a book because I have like a 10-minute break or whatever, I feel the need I have to be physically close to the laptop. Like, it can sense me, actually. And it's like really weird. And I'm not alone in this.
No, absolutely.
There's like this constant guilt about it. Like, you have to have your aura effectively intermingling with the laptop, or otherwise someone will know.
Right. Joe, I think you're both right. I think both the panopticon is fake bullshit and the panopticon is very real. I think it's just another manifestation of what we've been saying over and over, which is, if you are a sort of thoughtful, reflective person who thinks about what it means to be seen at all times and what it means for people to see you and what they think of you, you're a dumb motherfucker who has ruined your own life and you're doomed to suffer forever. But if you're a motherfucker who's just like, the microphone is where I blow my wind, and you eat a banana and loudly smack it every day of your life, you're a genius who's having a great time.
God damn, the secret to unlimited power is just putting my asshole to the microphone and letting it blow during a Zoom meeting. Like, if you can muster that, you've unlocked the power of the universe. It's over. It's over for everyone else.
That sucks for you because you chose the empathy profession.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Speaking of which, one of the things that I am low-key terrified of is, you both follow me on Twitter. I post wild shit on there. I don't know what the fuck I would do if I had a client come to me and be like, hey, Quinn, I found your Twitter, and I've got some questions.
Yeah, here's the thing. Here's the move. Die. Just have your heart turn off. It don't go no more.
Yeah, no.
And then you're done. Yeah. You're free, and you don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, all right, cool. This is over. I'm dead. Someone will send you an email with another therapist or something.
Never been horny. Never been horny. Don't tell the paper that I ever got horny.
That episode fucking whipped. Listener, you agree, right? We're great. Quinn, thank you so fucking much for being on our good show.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been an absolute delight.
Really glad you joined us. I'm really glad I got to talk about Yakuza with someone, because I just will send Tom screenshots and he'll be like, that looks like a fun game. And I'm like, yeah, idiot, it's the best.
I'm glad I got to talk about One Piece with someone, because I'll be like, Joe, did you know about Trafalgar Law? And he'll be like, I will kill you before I learn who that is.
Yeah, I was really happy that I was able to bring a little something for Joey and a little something for Tommy.
Yeah.
Also, thank you for having an island where I could sell my turnips for a profit.
Oh, yeah, I was very, very happy to see those numbers. I did fuck up and post the dodo code publicly on Twitter, and so for 2 minutes...
Oh, yeah, you can't play the game anymore,
no,
sorry.
It was 2 minutes, and then I was just completely flooded for the next 2.5 hours, and I'm like, I have a fucking meeting
Jesus
to go
Christ. To. Anyway, Quinn, where can people find you, and what are the good pieces of delightful content that you produce that they can check out if they thought you were delightful, which they should?
So you can find me on Twitter at MonkeyPieQuinn. That is MonkeyPiQuinn. I run and edit the Arms of the Tide podcast, which is on the One Shot Network. You can find that on Twitter at Arms of the Tide. I also am a recurring guest on the Orpheus Protocol, and you can find me talking about Riverdale very slowly, very far in the past, on the River Do's and River Don'ts podcast.
I'm really into Riverdale now. I'm going to stop reading One Piece so I can be a full Riverdale guy. I'm really excited.
Well, see, you should take the route that I thought of getting into One Piece, essentially, for Riverdale. Just listen to my podcast, leave Riverdale alone, because there was a point where I thought about, what if I just learned about One Piece by only playing the Pirate Warriors video games, and I just let the lore seep into me that way because I'm a pervert.
I want a Riverdale Dynasty Warriors game. Give me that.
Oh, fuck.
Give me that.
Oh, my God.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, my God. We can't let this go any further. I'm Tom, an anime sicko.
I'm Joe, an anime sicko.
And I'm Quinn Welsh-Wilson. Go eat your caterpillar fungus.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Anime Sickos. I've been Tom, a sicko. You can follow me on Twitter at TomHarrison19. Joe is also a sicko. You can follow him on Twitter at ShariaUncle. You can follow Anime Sickos on Twitter at Anime Sickos, or email us at animesickos@gmail.com. Please leave us a review or something. I don't know. Tell a friend. Anyway, until next time, bye.